The Eagles righted themselves after a bad start this season, but do they still have to overcome their coach, Nick Sirianni?
All these years later, the Flyers still looking for a Stanley Cup. Will it be the Russian Michkov that brings it to them finally?
I know what you're thinking. When will the Phillies sign Juan Soto, and will he get a beer named after him in this place?
I thought we were here to talk about beer. With Jason Stark, Al Morgani, and Angelo Cataldi, I'm Glen Macnow for an episode of, wait a second, Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing, presented by Valley Forge and Montgomery County.
This is the ugliest uniform in professional sports, bar none.
I'm going to try and put this down. I personally think you're out of your mind.
Okay.
I like UNLV this year and after they go to court next year. Once again, I am correct and the other three are wrong. This seems to be a trend.
Okay, fam. Quick stop in Montgomery County, but we have to be at Grandma's by 5 p.m.
Do we have time to stop at the mall?
KOP! Yes!
Do we have time to hit the slopes?
Skiing at Spring Mountain.
Do we have time for Santa?
If we have time for wildlife at the zoo!
Do we have time for food?
I have a list of 1,800 restaurants. Yum!
Do we have time for an overnight?
I feel like we're forgetting something.
When you spend the holidays in Montgomery County, your other plans can wait.
Honey, call them again.
Welcome to the Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing. And I just want to introduce you to the panelists because you might not remember 20 or 30 years ago. To my immediate left, Baseball Hall of Famer, the great Jason Stark.
I don't look quite the same, so maybe this will help.
Oh, there
There it
porn
is.
star stash.
There it is. To my far right, my old partner at WIP and a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, Mr. Al Morganti.
This is really a seance you're watching, so enjoy.
And to my immediate right, the guy you always see on this show, the beer entrepreneur and brilliant talk show host, business sports writer, and of course, actor, Glen Macnow.
Well, you just killed the whole half hour, Andrew. Thank you. So we are here tonight at Puddler's Kitchen and Tap in Bridgeport because it is the release of the Great Sports Debate beer, which my brewery, Conshohocken Brewing Company, is doing as a tribute to this group, and it's a charitable effort to benefit pediatric cancer research at CHOP. So as we got all of us together here, we figured let's do one last show. So here we are, guys. Great to see you.
I forgot my sports coat.
Let's
I gotta take this thing off, sorry.
Let's start right in with a little Eagles conversation, just like we did for all those years on the Great Sports Debate. And Glenn, I'll start right with you.
Yeah.
Eagles look like they've got enough talent to take a big run. Those offensive weapons are phenomenal. The defense is tightening up. But they got a head coach, Nick Sirianni, that nobody really has much faith in. Do you?
I'm kind of with you there. By the way, just for your notice, we are taping the show before the Eagles play Washington. So if they beat Washington 73-0, Nick Sirianni is going to lead them to a Super Bowl. If not, maybe not. Here's my thing. I think Nick Sirianni is a smart guy. I think his players like him. I think he's immature. And I think that Nick Sirianni is going to be like Terry Francona, like Andy Reid, a guy who this is his learning job, and down the road he wins it somewhere else.
Nothing has changed after all these
No,
years.
it's the same thing.
We got to talk to Nick Sirianni for 3 years while I was still on WIP. Did he ever strike you as a really smart guy?
Nobody struck me as the guy that struck a chord in his own locker room, which is all that really matters. He does not really trying to win over, obviously, other people. Immature is a unique, strange word.
I don't know, man.
Well,
for that job?
When you're 80, a lot of things seem immature, okay? So let me tell you.
Not quite.
You have to,
Hold on.
You have.
I haven't changed a bit.
You have to start thinking of the people that are actually doing things now.
Okay.
The guys at the ambulatory.
All right,
It's
so
different.
3 shots in 1 minute, Al,
Well,
just like the old
I'm just
times.
telling you.
So, but here's the thing: when he starts arguing with the fans,
But he
that's
wasn't
not a
real-
sign of
yeah,
immaturity to you.
He was arguing with one fan who was giving him a hard time, and he was just yelling back at him, which actually was fun. But because it blew up right away, it's like he's screaming at the fans. So then the train starts. Like, oh
well,
my
yeah,
God!
That's ridiculous.
It's
Jason,
true.
is it ever a good idea to give advice on how the fans should react to stuff?
That never works. Let me tell you who Nick Sirianni really reminds me of. It's not Terry Francona. It's Gabe Kapler. He's the football Gabe Kapler, except with actual winning, right? Because you've never seen a coach who talks like this.
Right.
Never seen a coach who acts like this. There are days you've never seen a coach who coaches like this. But the funny thing is, he's good at it. They're 41-19 as we record this. It's the third best
wait a
record
minute.
of any coach since the merger.
If he's that brilliant, what happened at the end of last season?
Stuff happened.
Stuff happened. Jason,
I'm Glenn. But that's okay. It's been a while since you've done it. The names all run together. But I think that is a good point. What happened last season sticks with me in a way that I fear it could happen again this season.
It could. Look, it's sports.
So I know. I know it's
could
entirely speculative,
happen.
but
you know what else could happen? He could have learned from that, and things will go differently this time. You don't think he learned some things about how to deal with his quarterback in particular? It feels like it.
I don't know. I said at the beginning of this that the Eagles have as much talent as I can remember, especially offensive.
What does that mean? You can't remember anything.
Al's kind of one note tonight.
Could you just focus on the questions?
Yeah, sure.
What I want to
really
ask
don't
you
want to
is,
be here, do you?
what I am trying to ask you is,
Yeah.
right? Isn't it possible that this team is so talented?
He can't screw it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's.
In other words, when they leave for the Super Bowl, don't make him miss the plane.
All right. I don't remember Al ever being this funny before.
No.
When did this stop? He must be rested up for
Yeah,
change.
there you go.
I don't know. Anyway, we are going to be dealing with the Flyers and the Sixers and all the other teams in the course of our brief show here today. And we are also going to tackle, when we come back, our good friend Keith Jones out.
Jonesy.
And the fact that somehow
Yeah.
he is now the president of the Flyers.
Yep, 3 Russian goaltenders and a grandkid named Nikita. It don't get any better.
That's right. We'll see how the Flyers and Sixers are doing later. The Phillies and Rob Thompson. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Glenn, anything you need to say here?
No, it's Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing, presented by Valley Forge and Montgomery County. Hey Andrew, as we're here reminiscing about 10 years of Conshohocken Brewing Company, which of our 4 great spaces is your favorite?
How about right here in KOP, our main production brewery with event space for any occasion?
Great start, but how about our Conchi tap room right along the Schuylkill River Trail?
A true original, our classic go-to, and super chill vibes over there on East Elm.
Well, now we're talking. Now, Puddler's Kitchen and Tap in Bridgeport, a favorite of mine, including our great sports fundraising events.
And no matter the occasion, Puddler's Kitchen and Tap has the perfect space. Great beer, good food, and spirits.
Let's finish strong. Rec Room, my favorite spot for games and live music.
Yeah, directly across from the Colonial Theater in the heart of Phoenixville. Rec Room is always lively. Great event spaces too.
With fresh beer, delicious food, full bars, and a variety of unique spaces to host any size gathering or event, Conshohocken Brewing Company has something for everyone.
Okay, quick stop in Montgomery County.
Do we have time to stop at the mall?
Do we have time to hit the slopes?
Do we have time for Santa?
If we have time for wildlife at the zoo.
Do we have time for food? Do we have time for an overnight?
There's always time for more holiday magic in Montgomery County.
Welcome back to the Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing. Let's talk a little Phillies. They did win a championship since our last Great Sports Debate in 2008, long time
There's
ago.
also Y2K.
You made it to the Baseball Hall of Fame since then. You are way more respected than you ever were when you were on this show.
Well, the bar was set pretty low. Thank you.
Jason, the Phillies, they seem to be not going so well in the postseason the last 3 years. They're going downhill. Is Rob Thompson the guy to get them there?
This is a Rob Thompson thing, okay? I think Rob Thompson is really good at managing his team. I get the impression there may be a move or two that you disagree with. Is that correct?
Well, the first playoff game, Wheeler's throwing a one-hitter, 110 pitches, and he takes him out after 7 innings in a 1-0 game and hands the game to the Mets. They never recovered from that decision.
Okay, first off, it's not 1993 anymore.
There it is. See what he does.
There you go. Yeah.
See what he does.
It's not. It's not. The game is very different. It's managed differently. You're assuming that every decision is made by the manager on his own. That very rarely happens. There's a lot of input. I also would like to point out that the bullpen was one of the strengths of that team, and they never envisioned what happened at the end of that game happening. That said, I did a lot of work on this. I don't think there's ever been a team that lost a game where a pitcher pitched like that. I could not find one.
Wow. Glenn, analytics. We're really talking here about analytics.
Yeah, I find myself agreeing with you so much more than I used to, which is a very frightening thing. I got to drink more beer. But I hear you. I don't know if it's Rob Thompson to blame. But to me, it's the post-freaking season. You got a guy pitching that well, handing the game. And I know the bullpen had done well in the season. You got to win that game, and it killed me.
All right, Al, you made a comment in the other segment. See, I still pay attention about how Sirianni is great with the culture of the team.
Right.
Is that more important now than it was when we were actually on the air with this show?
I think so. I think the players are paid so much that they they're vested more, that they're part owners, it feels like at times. You're going to lose your job if you're manager or general manager, whatever. Who's the general manager of the Phillies?
Technically,
Bryce Harper.
Sam Fold?
Sam Fold, I believe,
Bryce
owns
Harper.
a title.
Bryce Harper is the general manager.
Dave Dombrowski.
No, it's Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper.
I hear you.
Yeah, he's got more power, you're right.
Yeah, if he wants this Japanese pitcher, they're going to get the Japanese pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
that's what
transitioning.
happens.
Who runs the Flyers?
The Flyers are run by, well, they're run by Danny Briere.
Okay.
That hockey's hockey's different. You bench guys, they say thank you. It's different. Which is ironic to me because I find it very odd that the baseball team, the American sport, is managed by a Canadian who's very Canadian-like in the way he deals with his players, and the hockey team is coached by John Tortorella, who's a wild American guy who coaches like a non-hockey guy.
Right, but did you ever believe that somebody who worked with us for 20 years would become the president of one of the sports teams?
There's a lot of people in offices around the country now that I never thought I would see. So let's just say it's just.
Is there hope for them? There's
hope in a couple of years for them.
Yeah.
The Phillies have much more hope than them.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phillies are damn good.
I know.
That's what I mean. Damn good. I mean, I worry about the Phillies for one reason now. I think that they're not going to automatically have a full house that they've had the last couple of years, because how much more can you do? They're at the point with the taxes now that I think it's like their 4th year, they'd go over the tax threshold, so it'll be like 90% of what it's coming.
You brought up the name.
Does not care about that.
Oh, that's a big number.
At all.
That's a big number.
I don't know. Have we ever had an owner in this town quite like John Middleton? I mean,
I
he does
hate
not care
Boys,
about that tax.
I don't want to big time you, all right?
Yeah.
But I was with John Middleton the other night. I
Really?
was hanging out with him.
Really?
I had a private conversation.
What did he say to you?
And
he said, I said, John, I have never heard an owner who said before free agency, we plan to spend more money on payroll this year than we did last year.
Right.
And he said, we do. We need to win as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And our general manager, Bryce Harper, has authorized us to spend big money this year.
You want to get into Sixers
Soto,
for a second?
I just got to know.
Yeah.
Soto, yes or no? Are they going to sign him?
They will not sign him. They will make the call despite the way they're downplaying it.
Right.
But sign him? He's not coming here.
Glenn, the Sixers,
Pathetic.
only 30 seconds.
Yeah, well,
do you love their ownership?
I despise their ownership because you cannot own the Sixers and the Washington Commanders and the New Jersey Devils and be part of this community. You cannot do it. It's a sin against nature. That's all I got.
But Al, an arena in Center City, good idea?
Yeah, it's a good idea as long as it isn't. I don't have to go to it.
Your studio be in it.
I just.
All right,
I think they should be. This has been amazing.
Glenn, we got some big thing coming up. What do we do when we come back?
First of all, when we come back, we have a great night tonight to benefit CHOP and Pediatric Cancer Research. That's what this beer is about, the Great Sports Debate beer. Look at Al. Where's the mullet?
That's the dog.
Oh, people ask about the dog. People ask about the dog. The dog he was the best part.
Yeah, the dog's long dead. Yep.
Anyway, you're going to see some of the night we're having tonight, the benefit for CHOP. So stick around for that on the Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing.
Jason Stark, Al Morgani, bitch and moan.
I did it for you.
Okay, fam. Quick stop in Montgomery County, but we have to be at Grandma's by 5 p.m.
Do we have time to stop at the mall?
KOP!
Yes!
Do we have time to hit the slopes?
Skiing at Spring Mountain. Do we have time for Santa?
If we have time for wild lights at the zoo!
Do we have time for food?
I have a list of 1,800 restaurants.
Yum! Do we have time for an overnight?
I feel like we're forgetting something.
When you spend the holidays in Montgomery County, your other plans can wait.
Honey, call them again.
The International Olympic Committee has selected its site for the 1996 Summer Olympics. Atlanta? Why won't the Eagles honor maybe their best team ever? I'm your host, Angelo Cataldi, and this is the Great Sports Debate.
Hey, we're back at Puddler's Kitchen and Tap. It's the Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing, and as you can see behind me, there's a lot of activity. This is the release night for the Great Sports Debate beer. All of our beautiful mugs on it, and it's all to raise money for Pediatric Cancer Research at CHOP. Let's go talk to some of the people. Hey, look who I found. It's Todd Zalecki here, our favorite baseball writer. While I have you here, Todd, off season for the Phillies. The biggest splash move they make this offseason.
Oh my God!
Soto. What'd you say?
Juan Soto.
You heard it from Todd Zalecki.
I would not put money on Juan Soto. I think they're going to take a run at him. They're going to do something, Glenn. I'm telling you, they're going to do something. Dave Dombrowski has said every time he spoke publicly, we're going to be open-minded. That means they're going to make a trade.
So yeah, a lot of people are wondering what we should expect this offseason from the Phillies.
Well, you know, I talked to a guy the other day who had talked to Dave Dombrowski at the GM meetings, and the word he used to describe him was antsy, as in antsy to change the look of the team. And, you know, in my experience, when Dave wants to change his team, what's most likely to happen? Dave will change his team. So I think they will trade somebody. It'll be in the Alec Bone, Ranger Suarez, Brandon Marsh lane, and I think they will sign a bunch of guys.
Are you a big fan of Glen Macnow and his beer?
Oh, absolutely, both. It has to be, absolutely.
This is a WIP reunion because this, of course, is the great Jody McDonald. Jody, what is that jersey?
Baton Rouge Kingfish. I knew we'd have a lot of hockey guys here tonight, so I said, got to go to a hockey jersey. This is my favorite. I love this blue color.
And who's this guy next to us, between us?
Where's Moss?
This is Mark Moss, who is chief engineer of WIP, and as we remember, as Jody said, usually getting hollered at by the boss.
Oh, yes. And, you know, my greatest memories was being your producer on the road, spelling things wrong, and you guys had a bet against me.
Did you know that the lead item, the one getting the most bids, is Glen Macnow's pet goat, Nancy?
I didn't know.
Oh, no. His pet goat, Nancy, so far the bidding's like $600. Now, when you get the goat, I don't want to know what you're going to do with the goat, but you can have the goat until Christmas, at which time it has to go back to Glenn's house. They're making a new beer, Glenn's Pet Goat Beer. So make sure you buy that beer when it comes out.
Glen Macnow, everything he touches turns to gold, including his new beer, which happens to be gold.
All right, that was a lot of fun. When we come back, Al, Ange, and Jason and I are going to relive some of our favorite memories from those days on the Great Sports Debate.
I wrote this book on Charles Barkley, Anselo Publishing, available in bookstores now.
Yes.
All right?
You did.
And on the back, I mentioned that I have a talk show host.
Right.
And it didn't mention you, and you got so upset at that time that you walked out.
Yeah.
Well, we're too mature to walk out.
You what?
We wouldn't pull a stunt like walking out because we're too much
No,
mature for that.
Welcome back. You know, it's a very special night here for a Great Sports Debate meets What's Brewing. And we just thought we'd wrap up all those years we did our show and tonight by remembering the big moments we can recall at our advanced age that happened during the tenure of the Great Sports Debate. Glenn, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one that people still bring up and the one that became most notorious was the trial of Jim Fregosi. That got all of us in trouble. Actually, I will say, well, you can go in a second, but for me, the trial of Jim Fregosi led to my career at WIP because I got put in purgatory at the Enquirer. They wouldn't let me cover anything. I ended up getting my job, and 31 years later, here we are. But it was not a great event for you, as much as it was for the rest of us.
What was the feedback you got from the trial of Jim Fregosi?
Okay, well, I'll divide this into two parts. One was I was at Veteran Stadium shortly after this show aired, and I got summoned to the office of the manager of the Phillies, the actual Jim Fregosi. And I'll sum up his view of this show like this. He didn't think I should win an Emmy for this episode. Not that big a fan of the trial of Jim Fregosi. So there was that. He then decided he wasn't going to talk to me for the rest of that season, which, as you recall, included a trip to the World Series. So all of that went smoothly.
Not good timing.
Then there was the other part of it, which was I worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer. I had a very congenial meeting with my bosses at the Inquirer in which they said, okay, so here's how we see this. You could keep doing that show and hanging out with you guys, or you could do your actual job. And for some reason, I chose the actual job.
You did.
Much as I love it.
That's ironic because Al and I had a similar decision at the Enquirer where they said, we don't like your radio careers. And we said, good, goodbye, we're going to radio. Right, Al?
And I can't spell, so it's a much better decision.
One of the other things that was we remember about the show, you a little differently, was Kurt Schilling actually used to like to come on the show.
Yeah.
Before he was crazy.
Yeah, he's a character, we'll put it that way. But he brought his dog Slider on. I remember, and he became a big hockey fan too.
Yeah.
He played street hockey. He was you know what's weird about Kurt was Schilling was popular with us and the fans, but I don't think in the locker room he was very popular.
But I say with great pride, I hated him even then. I hated him 10 years before everybody else did.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that.
He was the president of your fan club too.
Yeah.
I would put him in the
rotten human being.
I would put him in the Hall of Fame. Though.
You would.
Yeah,
probably would.
I would put him in the Hall of Fame.
Probably would.
We brought up Fenway earlier.
Yeah.
Your dog, and I remember even how you started bringing him in.
I brought him in the car.
He got more fan mail than any of us.
Oh yeah, when he died, just bags full of fan mail. It was Fenway's, a Bernese Mountain Dog, which is now there's Bernedoodles, because God forbid anybody have a normal thing, a canine. They mix everything in some stupid doodle fashion. So now there's Bernedoodles.
Good rant,
but well, I'm just saying.
And we're the ones out of touch.
But Al, I've always wanted to ask you this because people say, I've often said the Great Sports Debate was the first panel show that ever had a dog as a regular. Where did you come up with the idea to bring your dog onto the show?
Well, I mean, when you have dogs, you come home, you complain to them because nobody else is going to listen. And he was a calm dog.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? People will like this dog. People like dogs. If you bring it,
they did love him.
They
loved
did.
him.
it was great.
And he would listen. He would
sit right
Yeah.
there.
He would
Stan
snore during
Hockman-
the show.
Stan Hockman asked me if I drugged the dog. I said no. I said, wouldn't you be bored listening to us too?
You know, I have such a fond memory of Fenway. One week it was Eagles Cowboys week. Remember when we did the Fenway taste test? We decided to remember this. Okay, so I brought. I don't know how I got to be in charge of this, but I brought in Texas food and Philly food, and Fenway was going to be the judge. So I brought in Texas chili, put that in front of Fenway. He wouldn't even sniff it, let alone eat it.
Wow.
But then we gave him a Philly cheesesteak. That thing lasted like 3 seconds.
Great.
And you couldn't have better proof that Philadelphia was superior to Dallas.
You know what I'm hearing right now? You regret picking the Inquirer over the Great Sports.
Do I though?
I want to say, we got to wrap, guys, but I want to say, I first of all so appreciate you guys being part of this charitable effort, and you can buy this beer all over town and have our faces in your refrigerator, just what you want, and coming out tonight and being part of it. And I am happy to announce that we are coming back starting next week.
No, we're not.
No, you're not. But I am. You're done. But thank you very much. What's Brewing is going to be coming back every week for the next 18 weeks, and we're delighted. Season 9 of our show. Guys, thanks for coming out and being part of it. To the Great Sports Debate, everybody. Why am I the only one drinking beer? We'll see you next week.
Obvious.
Now, Ange, what's the deal? You didn't really look prepared for that last shot. What was the problem? Oh! It's a shilling prank, ladies and gentlemen. He's famous for them. And well, how do you feel now anyway?